So, good evening, and thank you for coming for the class. So, before I start the class, I will let you know, I think all, the sentient being have a two kinds of suffering of physical or body, and physical or mental or mind. So everybody experience, we have two types of suffering. It doesn't matter the people rich or poor, beautiful or ugly, and young and aging, but everybody here has two types of suffering. So in order to reduce, the minimize or physical suffering is not that much depend on the practice of Dharma. In order to cure the physical suffering is very much depend on exercise, medicine, or the healthy food. But in order to reduce the mental suffering, the emotional suffering, or the inner suffering, it is very much depend on practice of Dharma. It is very much depend on understanding of Dharma. So in order to practicing Dharma, in order to understand Dharma, you don't have to be a Buddhist. For example, someone, even though he or she doesn't believe in Dharma or religion or next life or previous life, but the person still can experience the suffering of anger, suffering of attachment, suffering of desire, suffering of uncontentment, dissatisfaction. The person, even he or she doesn't believe in Dharma, but the person, when they practice compassion, he or she can.
No battery.
It's
so
okay.
To speak loud.
Still okay. Even though can you hear me? Okay. Even though the person who don't believe in Dharma, he or she still can experience the suffering of emotion. So, even though the person don't believe in Dharma, when they practice compassion or love, they can understand, yes, after I practicing compassion, I became more peaceful person. I have a less anger. When the person can understand I have a less anger, they can feel I have a more peaceful mind. It is, the Buddha Dharma, the Buddha teaching is not particularly, specifically for the Buddhist people. The Buddha Dharma is for everybody. Because why Buddha Dharma and why Buddha teaching is for everybody? Because Buddha Shakyamuni, also all the follower of the Buddha, all the master, they explain, they teach you the reality. When the person teach the reality, then everybody going to accept. That's why, so everybody should have a kind of thing, oh yes, I'm going to attend the class, I'm going to learn Dharma, I'm going to practice Dharma in order to achieve inner happiness, in order to reduce, in order to eliminate all the inner suffering. So when I say the emotional suffering, mental suffering, you shouldn't think it's emotional suffering means somebody like a kind of mad person. For example, somebody has very strong attachment, a particular laptop. When the person, doesn't get the laptop, he or she always, facing the emotional problem for the laptop. So that's why Buddhism always teach you, the Buddha Shakyamuni always teach you how we can achieve inner happiness and how I can reduce the inner suffering. So when we say the inner happiness or happiness, happiness, there are so many different levels of happiness. For example, I said the 100 degree, there's a 10 degree happiness, 20 degree, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 20, or 90 or 100. It's very much depend on you, what level of happiness you want to achieve. Of course, everybody want to achieve happiness, but what level? So, if you want to achieve, 10 degree, right, of happiness, then you have to reduce 10 degree of suffering. If you want to achieve 70% of happiness, then you have to reduce 75% of the negative emotion. So that's why the Buddhism always teach you how you can achieve happiness or inner happiness. And somebody think, many occasions, many people think, after I practice in Dharma, I will be a rich person. Or after I, practice Dharma, I will make more money than before. It is very wrong, perception, wrong conception. And also, somebody think, after I practice in Dharma, I will have a more healthy body. It makes sense, little bit sense, not totally. For example, everybody, try to eat the healthy food, the good food. Even though someone do a lot of exercise, always take, the healthy food and healthy medicine. But sometimes you can see the person have always, weak body, physically very weak. Still, the doctor tell you, you don't have any problem. Your body is fine. Your physical body is the fit. You don't have any problem. Then there's a question, why? Because I always take good medicine, good food, good exercise. I still feel very weak. That means the person facing some emotional or mental problem, For example, you can see among your friends or co-worker or your brother or sister, your children, you give good, external facility. But still you can see your friend face very, not really bright, look very weak. If you ask a lot of questions, then finally you can understand, your friend or your brother, your sister, your children facing some emotional problem. That's why the physical body has a very deep link with the mind. So that's why in order to have a healthy body, then you need to practice Dharma. Because you can see the angry person always has some problem. That means it shows the physical body has a deep connection with the mind. If you always try to keep your mind is very calm, very peaceful, then you will have a less physical problem. You will have a less sickness. So everybody should think, I'm going to learn Dharma in order to have a healthy body. Particularly, I'm going to, in order to achieve inner happiness. That's why the Buddhahood, the Nirvana, is nothing more than inner happiness. And also, we always have some kind of very wrong expectation. We always wished to meet, for example, like Manjushri, we always wish to meet Buddha Shakyamuni, Thara, Kongyen. We always wish to meet like Amitabha Buddha. Even though when, just in case, if you have enough good karma, maybe you can see Amitabha Buddha right in front of you. If you don't follow what Amitabha Buddha says, you're not going to achieve anything. For example, at the Buddha time, his brother, Bhikshu Lekar, he spent whole his life with Buddha Shakyamuni. He met a Buddha Shakyamuni. He eat together. He all spent whole life, but he, the Bhikshu never ever saw, good quality in Buddha. He always saw, like negative thing about Buddha. That's why you shouldn't think, if I meet a Buddha, I will achieve Buddhahood within few days, few hours. It's a very wrong perception. So you should think, the doctor is, for example, the doctor is very famous, very experienced. The doctor has the best medicine for cure your illness. When you meet the doctor, yes, the doctor is very experienced, educated. He has a good medicine. When you receive the medicine which is you need, if you don't eat the medicine at the right time, right moment, that medicine not benefit for you. It is same, when even though you have been, we have been meeting, so include me. When I say you, not all of you, okay, include me. You have been meeting many high lama, like just normal lama, very famous Rinpoche, very famous Geshe, very famous like different master. But if you think very carefully, precisely yourself, okay, since, for example, let's say since 2070 or 80s, I have been meeting all the masters. After meeting all the masters, all the guru, all the lama, doesn't matter. What is changing in my mind? What is really good changing my life? And then you can see, no much. Because you got the medicine, but you don't eat the medicine at the right time, at the right moment. Here, why I say the right moment? Because, for example, the compassion is the right antidote, right methods for reduce your anger. When you get angry, angry, at that moment, if you don't practice compassion, if you don't remember compassion, or if you don't remember the advice of the master or guru which you give you, then you are not taking the right medicine at the right moment. So whenever you arising the anger, just remember the Buddha teaching and remember the practice of compassion. Just practice compassion at that moment. That means you are taking the right medicine at the right moment. Then you can feel, yes, I have a kind of bad argument, or I have a lot of bad conversation, but still you can feel, I'm still okay, I'm still happy. If you don't practice compassion at that moment, then you can feel, after 1 hour, I'm very sorry myself, and you hate yourself because I got very angry, I'm very upset, it's too late for you. So that's why, the studying Buddhism, practicing Buddhism is not like a studying of general knowledge. It look like, you practicing Buddha Dharma, studying Buddha Dharma, it look like studying one very important thing which is very relevant, very necessary for your life. If you think, yes, study of Dharma, practicing of Dharma is very relevant for my life, then you will seriously follow Buddha Dharma. If you think, yes, today I am quite free, I will go to class, or today I am quite free, I will attend this Dharma class, that Dharma class, that means you don't have a good motivation. You don't have a good object, right? You want to achieve something, objective. That's why everybody, when we attend the Dharma class, when we practice Dharma, when we listening teaching, when we watching some kind of Dharma talk, we should think, this is very relevant for my life. will be very important for me. I must go, I must learn, I must practice. So studying is so important. Somebody may say you don't have to study Buddha Dharma. You just go and meet very famous master, famous Rinpoche or famous guru. He or she is going to give you very, very, very special, very effective teaching. It's enough for you. It's not like this. Because it's not that simple in order to achieving Buddhahood, achieving enlightenment, not that simple. Why? Our emotions are not simple. If our emotions, our negative emotions are so simple, then we need very simple teaching. Not like this. How many lifetimes, we, cultivate kind of how all the negative emotion. Even though within one life, since we born, the most time our minds are familiar with the negative, emotion, less familiar with the positive emotion. So for us, not easy to reduce the negative emotion. That's why we have to study Dharma very seriously. We have to, study is very important. The more important is practice. More important is practice. That's why, in Buddhism, we have three kind of order. First, we say that the listening. Three practice. Listening from someone. You must listen to someone. Then you need to think about the meaning. What Master said, what the Buddha said, what the text says. You need to think about the meaning again and again and again. And finally, then you have to practice the meaning which you know. For example, when you hear compassion, first you have to hear, you have to listen from someone, you have to receive the teaching someone, hearing. Then you need to think, what does mean compassion? How I can, develop compassion? How I can, increase the compassion? Think more and more. The finally you think, yes, this is right. If I practice compassion, my anger going to reduce. Then you practice compassion. When we say practice, it's not just wishing. So I wish I can have a compassion. I wish I have a bodhicitta, which is nice, but it's not really practicing. I said the last class. I said practicing means your mind is familiar with the compassion. So study is very important. Study. Without study, you cannot never ever going to achieve, the lasting inner happiness. Of course, Buddhahood, the Nirvana is so far, very far. It looks like impossible. So we everybody we have been follow Buddha Dharma for many years. Now it is not just be follow in the future same way. We must change the system. Until now we just receive teaching. But sometimes we practice very short time. Since today you should think, yes, the Buddhism is Buddha Dharma is very relevant, very important for my life. I must listen, I must study. Then it's not just studying lesson. I must practice. We must practice. So if you practice today, for you think it's a little difficult because we are very new. We are totally beginner of the practice. After a few months, in a few years, then if you look back, what you was look like 2 years ago, then you can see, I'm totally different. But you cannot see, I'm very different than the yesterday. I will be different today and tomorrow. You cannot see the result. So you have to, you shouldn't think, I practiced yesterday, day before, last year, last month, I don't have a progress. If you think very precisely, you can see you have a quite good progress. The study is very, very important. So, so that's why, I have been teaching the Dudra. After studying Dudra, you can have some quite good idea about all phenomena. Also, you can have some idea how I can achieve Buddhahood. Then you can have some idea about the cause and condition. And also you can have some idea about the contradictory phenomena. As I mentioned before, you study through contradictory phenomena, then you can understand, yes, great compassion, anger is contradictory to counterforce, right? To counterforce consciousness. Is you oppose each other like a cold and hot. So contradictory. So I mentioned before you, there are two types of contradictory phenomena, right? Direct and indirect. So when I say the direct contradictory phenomena means the true thing is totally, direct. There's, for example, when I say the phenomena is permanent, for example, the phenomena is permanent, this means the phenomena is not impermanent. When I say the particular phenomena is impermanent, that means indirectly saying it's not permanent. Okay, direct means it's totally kind of like a right and left, direct contradictory. So once you understand, yes, this is very direct means, then you have to learn second, yes, the great compassion and the anger is very contradictory, like consciousness. They never stay same level, same power at the same time. Then you can see, yes, when the anger arising more and more, then you can see I have a less compassion. When you can see when the compassion arising more and more, the anger is reducing less, more and more. Finally, you can have 100% compassion, 0% anger. Look at when you reach zero level of anger, how you will be a nice person. Right now, somehow we have some enemy here and there. Enemy doesn't mean you always have to fight each other. For example, if you are very angry mother, somehow your child or you are kind of little bit enemy, dislike person. Because your child, your friends, your family don't like you. They hate you because you are very angry person. If you are very compassionate, very gentle, very soft, of course your all children, your family, everybody likes you, care you, love you. Not only the person who you know, rest of the person really like you because you become very pure person. Okay, then through study about contradictory phenomena, then you can see, yes, nirvana, the Buddhahood is very possible. It's not just telling you story about Buddha, nirvana, Amitabha Buddha, pure land. Also, when we say pure land, how we can have a pure land? You shouldn't think, when we say pure land, you shouldn't think, there's a particular land I can go. I can come back from there. For example, you can see within your friend, one family is very nice, the parents, the children are very soft, very compassionate, very gentle. When you enter the family house, you feel more bliss, more happy. Right? That means, compared with your house, the house is more pure than your house. When someone enters your house, they can feel a little bit uncomfortable, kind of insecure, some kind of like negative thing in your house. So compared with their house, your house is less pure. When your mind became pure, then the environment become more pure. When your mind become totally pure, like very clean, then whole environment become very clean, very pure. For example, at the Buddha time, Buddha and all the disciples lived one place, same place. But the Buddha has a different sensation, the disciple has a different sensation. Because the Buddha mind is totally pure, according to Buddha experience, Buddha Shakya will never ever see kind of, uncomfortable place. Wherever he go, he always comfortable with in any environment. So it is so important to, reduce all the negative emotions. So we have to learn the contradictory phenomena. There's two types, direct and indirect. Through study about direct, then you can see compassion, anger is direct, contradictory phenomena, and ignorance and the understanding of the wisdom is the kind of direct contradictory phenomena, and indirect. For example, compassion and ignorance are not contradictory each other. The compassion, ignorance remain coexist, right? Coexist at the same time, at the same degree. That's why Buddha said, all the positive minds is so important to practice the positive mind. The best practice is practice of emptiness. Because when you practice emptiness, the practice will be antidote all negative emotions. Practicing compassion can be antidote of anger, not ignorance, not attachment, not desire, not disappointment. So practicing emptiness is the antidote of all negative emotions. It's kind of because why? I said why? Because all negative emotions, arising from ignorance. Ignorance. When you have ignorance somehow, then you can have a negative emotion towards the object. So, direct and indirect, you should think there's two types of contradictory, then there's two types of antidotes. One is direct antidotes, one is indirect antidotes. The second, I think we already learned a little bit the connected phenomena. The connected phenomena is very important. Right? Connected. So we everybody heard about the Four Noble Truths. Right? Four Noble Truths. Within the Four Noble Truths, the cessation part is effect, result and cause. The path is the cause of cessation. Cessation is the result of the path. We must understand there's a connection between cessation and path. Another two noble truth, the suffering and the cause of suffering, origin of suffering. That means the suffering is the result, all the negative karma or negative action, ignorance are the cause of the suffering. So, through study about cause and condition, cause and result, then you must understand, yes, the nirvana, the cessation, the Buddhahood is the result of path. And all the suffering. How many types of suffering? Can you tell me? Three types of suffering, right? Three types of suffering. One, suffering of suffering, suffering of changing, and pervasive suffering. Three of them result of the negative emotions or karma or ignorance. If you don't know the connection, the link between cause and result, then you don't understand the nirvana, path, and suffering and origin of suffering. There's a link. So this morning, also yesterday, I was thinking about, okay, look at. So I don't know how many years been in Singapore, after reach Tibetan Buddhism in Singapore, maybe 20 years or 30 years, right?
2008, Jimpa started.
No, generally in Singapore. More than 30 years. More than 30 or 40 years. 30, let's say 30 years. But look at, during the 30 years, we don't really have a Singaporean teacher who can teach you Tibetan Buddhism. Very few who went to Dharamsala like Sarah and Dipung, they studied there and they came back, they became a teacher here, which is very nice. In the future, everybody think, yes, I'm going to learn Dharma, I'm going to practice Dharma myself, also I will become a teacher in the future. Then in the future, the Singaporean no need to rely on Tibetan or China or Vietnam or Thailand. You must think this way, because it's big difference, because you can speak English and Chinese and you have good experience how to teach. You should think, oh yes, I learn, I practice as well as I will teach. So that's why, after studying Dudra, maybe in the future we can spend more time. Then I think, yes, most of you can understand Dudra. Then we can move on another subject. Also, maybe end of the class we can come. Of course, we're going to have a little test. After test, maybe we can have like a small certificate from DBC, recognized by Geshe Yonten. Why not? We should think this way. Somehow we're going to get. If we are lucky enough, we're going to stay like 70 or 80 or 90 years old. After you retire, you have to stay at home. You don't have to, you just stay at home, going here and there. Nothing you can do. You are retired. If you have a quite good knowledge about Buddhism, you can become a master or teacher. Then you can accumulate a lot of merit and karma, as well as you can give a good knowledge for others. That's why Buddha says, giving dharma or giving knowledge is the best giving for others. We have a 6 paramita, right? The practice of giving. We can give a life, someone. Also, we can give the material things. We can give a teaching. The giving teaching, giving education is the best giving. Even though when you are retired, you can give a best gift for others. So, you should think this way. Okay, the kinetic phenomena. So we have a two, right? Directly connected and causally, identically connected phenomena and causally connected phenomena. So identically connected phenomena means, here I mentioned a few times, for example, Mr. Lee and human being. Mr. Lee have a connection with the human being. The connection between Mr. Lee and human being we call identically connected. Identically connection. Okay, connection between Mr. Lee and human being. We can call the connection is identically connection. Why it is say identically? Because within the Mr. Lee is a human being, but if you try to find different, try to find the true different entity within the Mr. Lee. Yeah, this is Mr. Lee, this is human being. You cannot find. Right? Yes, generally you can find, yeah, this is Mr. Lee, this is human being. Within the Mr. Lee, there's no true separate entity. Mr. Lee is a human being. That's why we call Mr. Lee has a connection with the human being. What does mean connection? In somewhere, some place, if there's a human being cease, no more human being, then Mr. Lee must be ceased there. No more Mr. Lee. If there's no human being, then there will no Mr. Lee. There's a connection. Same, for the cup. The cup is impermanent phenomena. The cup has a link, connection with the impermanent. The cup, impermanent is general, cup is particular, specific phenomena. The cup has a link, connection, link with the impermanent. We call identically connection. It's same. If you try to find two different entities within the cup, yeah, this is an impermanent, this is a cup, you cannot find two entity cup and impermanent of the cup. You cannot describe identically. Right? So, this is like we call general and specific. Human being in general, Mr. Lee specific, particular. Mr. Lee have a connection with the human being. The cup has a connection with the impermanent. And impermanent has a connection with the existent phenomena. Look at Mr. Lee have a connection with the human being. The human being doesn't have a connection with Mr. Lee. It looks like one way, not like both way. But impermanence and compounded phenomena has a link both sides. Impermanence has a link with the compounded phenomena. Compounded phenomena. The compounded phenomena has a link with the impermanence. It has a two way. But the cup has a link with the impermanent. Impermanent doesn't have a link. If the impermanent has a link with the cup, that means the impermanent must, rely on cup. When the cup ceases, then impermanent have to cease.
So, emptiness of a cup and the cup itself, they are identically connected.
Yeah.
And they are both ways.
Yeah.
Because emptiness of the cup depends on the cup itself. And the
cup is
is related. Sorry. The cup is related to the emptiness of the cup. So they are both ways are identically connected.
Yeah.
But impermanent and cup itself is one way.
Yeah.
So
impermanent of the cup and the impermanent of the cup and cup has the two, both sides. It is same. Now we can, move the idea with the cessation and the part. Look at, we can say cessation means cease, stop, right? Cease and stop something. What? The negative emotions, and also the ignorance. When you totally cease all the negative emotions, then you achieve cessation. How we can cease? How we can eliminate negative karma, negative action, negative emotion? Through practicing of the path. For example, through practicing of great compassion, you able to cease, you able to eliminate anger. Finally, you can achieve cessation of the anger, right? Cessation of anger. The cessation of anger comes by practicing of great compassion. The practice of great compassion we can call path. There's a link. Without practicing path, you cannot never ever achieve cessation. There's a link. We call, it's kind of like positive side of the cause and effect. Path and cessation, one group. And second, and the suffering and origin of suffering is because the negative side of the link, because the suffering which is we experience is most come from the negative emotions. For example, of course, we can understand when the mental suffering coming through the mental emotion, right? The anger. After anger, you can have a lot of problem. The problem come from anger. The anger is the cause of your problem. And in generally, then we say, the three types of suffering also, arise through negative action, negative emotion. There's a suffering because there's a negative action. Because there's a negative action because there's negative emotion. Negative emotion bring negative action. Negative action always bring negative result. Positive emotions always bring positive action, positive action always bring like a positive result. It's a nature, right?
So is that an identical connection or?
This is a one way. One way. All the negative emotion has a, all the suffering has a, connection with the negative emotion. Negative emotion not necessarily arising through suffering. It's one way. The easy way you can think in the smoke, right? No smoking, smoke. Smoking? Smoke. Smoke is arising or come from fire. The fire is not depend on smoke. Smoke is very much, depends on fire. That means when there's a fire, there's a possible have a smoke. If there's a smoke, then there's a fire. That's when you feel kind of physical suffering or mental suffering, you should think, yes, I have this kind of physical suffering or mental suffering. If you think more deeply, then you can see there's a link with the negative emotion. Even though most cases, when we experience the physical suffering, there's something linked with the negative emotions. For example, when you got some injured, that means somebody hit you, because the person not happy, the person is very angry, they hate you, you got like a injured. There's a link. Somebody has a kind of problem having kind of like a, overweight. For example, Mr. Oshum, maybe not, just making joke. Look at it. The person, most cases, somebody have a kind of, overweight problem. Then when he or she eats a lot of food or the wrong food. When they eat a lot of food, that means he or she has kind of very strong desire for eating. There's a link. So also you can see now we have so many different kind of disease, kind of HIV. So HIV, how we can finally, how we can have a HIV, also there's a link with the negative emotions. That means most cases, when we have a physical suffering, the physical suffering or physical problem also, come through negative emotion. Of course, the mental suffering is 100% we can say arising through negative emotions. That's why you have to know, yes, negative emotions always bring negative action. Negative action bring always negative, result. So we don't need negative result, right? If you don't need negative result, then means we don't need negative action. If we don't need negative action, then we don't need negative emotion. If you don't need negative emotion, then how I can reduce negative emotion? Not through, praying, chanting, offering, nothing. Then you have to practice. You have to practice, bit by bit. So if you need like a positive result in your life, then you are looking positive action. If you need a positive action, then you need a positive emotion, not negative emotion. The negative emotion, positive emotion, both always with us. We don't have to, buy from someone. We don't have to borrow from right? Borrow from someone. It's within us. Positive is there, negative is there. But what we have to do, just try to reduce the negative thing, try to, develop the positive thing. We have everything. We have a method, we have a cause, we have a condition. What we need to do, we have to walk. So just arise the positive emotion, reduce the negative emotion. Very easy, very simple way. But the difficulty is, most time we ignore our kind of laziness. So so that's why through practicing identical phenomena, you need to think, yes, in general object and particular object have a link. when you learn the causal connective phenomena, this means yes, the nirvana is very much depend on practice of path. Reducing suffering is very much depend on the reducing negative emotion, because the suffering has a link with the negative emotion, right? So I'm not just talking of, yes, many people says in Tibet, because in Tibet generally the Gelugpa, like Sera, Galden, Tepon, most of Gelugpa monasteries, they study about the Dura, and they have a lot of debate class. And of course, in the past, in the Nyingma monastery, some Nyingma monasteries, even though some Gelugpa monastery, Gelugpa monks criticize about studying this kind of thing. They thought, why they are talking about fire and smoke? I really don't care where the smoke come from, what the fire produces. We don't care. Yeah, many people criticize this way. But if you think, first if you have a kind of little knowledge, the connection between fire and smoke, then you finally think, yes, without fire it is impossible to have a smoke. If there's a smoke, there must be there fire. Then second, you think, yes, I have a physical problem, I have an emotional problem. Where the emotional problem come from? It's not give it by Buddha or God or give it by someone. This means you think, yes, this must be some cause and condition. Then if you understand, yes, my anger, where the anger come from? Yes, ignorance. Where the ignorance come from? The ignorance come from because I have a very heavy ignorance about the fundamental phenomena. You don't know the reality of the phenomena. Then, for us very easy to have a negative emotion, negative thoughts. Because many cases we think, he or she doing really bad thing about me. When you have a conversation, when you have a just talk together, then you can realize, yes, it is my mistake. Because before we don't know, I have a mistake, I done mistake. Then somebody say, you did this, you did that. Then you can realize, yes, due to my ignorance, I get upset, I get angry. When you know the reality, then there's no really chance to get angry and upset. For example, somebody lost, let's say very expensive pen, very expensive thing one. Somebody lost very expensive one. And of course get very angry or very upset. If you think more carefully, more precisely, person themselves, yes, I lost very expensive, very valuable object. I'm very upset, I'm not happy. They think, yes, I lost because I'm careless. And also you think, yes, you already lost. Even though I became very upset, very unhappy, but I cannot get the valuable object. I cannot bring back the valuable object. You already lost. Then you can see you have a less, disappointment. It's so important to know the reality. In order to know the reality, we have a so different level of reality. Finally, if you know the emptiness of the phenomena, emptiness of the all phenomena, then there's a very little chance to have a negative emotion. That's why, studying about the heart sutta is very important. Okay, so, it's too much for me. I say too much, little bit, sorry. Connected phenomena have the identical and causal. Okay, when we say causally connected phenomena, can you see the chart? There's a, direct cause, condition and result. Cause, condition, result. Within the cause, there are direct, indirect, substantial cause, cooperative cause. So direct cause, there can be anything. For example, before we making fire, because we make a fire, it's just 1 o'clock. Before just 1 o'clock, there's a fire, there's a wood, there's a drum, there's a gas, there's electricity, whatever. Just 1 o'clock before, like 12:59 and millimeters something. There's a lot of things, right? All this condition we can call direct cause of the fire. Just 1 milliminute before. All this condition or cause we call direct. Because there's no another phenomenon between the 1 o'clock fire and the 12:59 milliminute something. There's no any other kind of duration or phenomena. We call direct. Okay, direct condition or direct cause. Direct means the result and cause. Between cause and result must be there's no time, no duration, no any other phenomena between two of them. Is caused directly. The indirect, let's say the fire we made 1 o'clock. Before 1 o'clock, like 12:59, 12
o'clock 59 minutes 59 seconds.
Second. Before that condition we call indirect. Because between there's some phenomena, there's a time. For example, look at A, B, C. Looks, let's say, easy to draw here. A, B, C, right? It was the wrong way. Correct? Okay. Between A and B, there's nothing, right? A and B. C, A, B, C. Between C and A, there's a B. So, A is the direct cause of the B. A is the indirect cause of the C. Right? That means always shooting direct mean between this cause and this dissolve, between there's some time or some phenomena. And also same, A is direct cause of B, B is direct cause of C, but B is direct cause of C, A is no direct cause of C, is indirect. That means, so when after you learning direct, indirect cause, then look at, within our life, we face sometimes we face very difficult things. But all the difficulty has a direct cause, indirect cause. Somebody, we did something wrong today, but we don't notice it. But somebody noticed. After 1 year, he or she just, showing you some angry, some criticizing. Then they thought, I didn't do anything. Why you are really angry to me? I didn't do anything wrong. Then he going to say, yes, 1 year before you did this. Look at, and there's this indirect cause. So there's something negative action, the result come later or sooner. There's indirect. Then within the cause, right? Now direct cause, A is direct cause of B, A is an indirect cause of C. A, B, C. So within the cause, right, there's a direct, indirect, substantial cause and cooperative cause. So what is the differences between substantial cause and cooperative cause? What's the differences? Yes, for example, I said kind of seeds. This is like a seed. Seeds, this kind of seeds. There's a fire, water, air, wind. For the person, there's a person, like so. Chinese must be like person like this, right? There's a person, like person. So Then after seeds, there's some kind of tree or crop. Then look at it. So there's a fire, water, earth, person, so many things. All of them we can call cooperative cause. Because it helps to produce the tree. Also the seeds help to produce the tree. Look at, when you see the seed, when you check the seeds, after you put on in the ground, water and soil, you can see the seeds of bean sprout come from the seed. But the water never transformed as the sprout. The soil never transformed as the sprout. It helped to produce the like of sprout. That means that all the seeds become substantial, and other factors we can call the cooperative cause. And here now you can learn about your practice, like a bodhicitta. Maybe somebody you have a bodhicitta after you practice. Look at bodhicitta is a mind. So right now we have so many different types of mind. So after you practicing great compassion, this thing, finally you can develop bodhicitta, very fresh one. But bodhicitta is not come from other external factors. The bodhicitta mind is come from other mind. The mind became as a bodhicitta. This is substantial. So for example, when you after receiving teaching, studying Buddha Dharma, you can develop bodhicitta. The teaching, the study Dharma, the master, the guru are the cooperative cause, not substantial cause. Okay? It's so important to learn the substantial cause. That's why last class we talking about the previous life, how we can prove there's a previous life. This I said, we have a physical body, we have a mind. The physical body come from our parents, but the mind does not come from our parents. The mind come from previous mind. The previous mind is the substantial cause of this life, this mind. This mind is substantial cause of the next life mind. They're the person, the parent, the environment is we call cooperative cause. And the teaching, studying Dharma, this we call the cooperative cause of the bodhicitta. Okay, substantial cause and cooperative cause, right? So connected, we have identical phenomena, identical connection, and causal connection. The negation we just leave it at the moment is so little and it's difficult to understand. Then general and type generally, right? Collection is okay. This one here must be looking. Oh yeah, this is page number 362, right? So here you should just understand there's a general and particular. It also says generalities and collection generalities, object generality and terms generalities. So here particulars, remember here, type generality, etc. Rikchi. Yeah, type generality means, for example, the Eastern, let's say the Eastern cup and the Western cup. The two, we have so many cups. For example, the Eastern cup and the Western cup is the same. Generally both of them is cup. This we call generally tap. Generally they are one same type, because both of these tap same one is a big cup, small cup, yellow cup, green cup, whatever we call the generally one tap. Because generally all of them is a cup. So that's why you can see, the Western people Eastern people, rich people, poor people, generally we everybody as a human being. Generally we human being. Generally we are a sentient being. We look at sometimes we have very strange perception. For example, when we say we are Asian, then we have little bit negative thoughts for the Western. Within the Asia, then we have another severities. Oh, Indian and Singapore, then we can make another separate. Then we thought we have more strong sense of strong about Singaporean than the Indian. Generally, we are same human being. Finally, within the Singapore, then you can divide over Western Singapore, Western and Southern, West and North, Western, East, North and South. Then just within the South, okay, there's a separately. Then we can say their family and my family. Within the family, you can see then we can separate. Oh, he and she. Finally, you can find the best one, you. That's why we say generally taps mean yes, there's a little different shape and color and size. Generally, there is oneness. The cup, Eastern, Western, big, small, yellow cup. Everything is a cup. The generality. That's why through study of the generality, you should think yes, the size is different, but both of them is a cup. The color is different, but both of this cup. They are Westerner, we are Easterner, but generally we are human being. But they are cow, we are human being. Generally, we are sentient being. When you think, oh, everybody is sentient being, then you have a more closeness feeling with the cow. You think, yes, we are sentient being. We are. Not you are sentient being. We are sentient being. General traps. Right? That means same, yellow house, black house, big house, small house, we call generally traps. The next one. Oh yeah, this is Richard Sochi. This is collection generally. Yeah. The collection generally means, for example, this is we specific talk about the form, form and the matters thing. The consciousness we don't call the generally taps. No, so collection taps. Form and the external matter or inner matter, we call all of them we call the collection taps, right? Collection generally, yeah. The collection generally generality you always think, yeah, all the forms, all the matters are collection generality. Then object generality. This is a very important one. Object generality. So in order to know this one, then you can see, you must see the page number. I will check with the 41? 431. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 431. Just mix together. Okay, just leave it. So difficult. For example, when you look at a particular object or general object, when we say look at, there's a two different way you can see. One, you can perceive, you can comprehend the phenomena through your five sensation. Eyes, nose, in eyes consciousness, five people, the five sensation. Sensual sensation.
Five senses.
Senses, five senses. When you look at this pen, you can see the pen is directly through your eye sense. there's nothing between this, pen and consciousness, because you can see this particular red pen is your, naked eyes. You can see nakedly. That's why they call this is subject, because object, eyes consciousness is the subject. The eyes consciousness perceive the pen directly. Directly, there's nothing. Then objectively, the generality. The second see, when we say see, you shouldn't think always through eyes. We can see, perceive. You can perceive the sound through your, air consciousness. Smell through your nose consciousness. It's direct. The indirect, let's think, just everybody imagine one particular thing in your home. Maybe you have a cup, maybe you have a pen, you have just think a particular object. When you remember the object, it looks like you can see it, but it looks like you are seeing the object, but you are not really seeing the object from here. You cannot see through your eyes here, because there is a kind of image of the object in your mind, right? Kind of image. That kind of image we can call the object generality. Okay? When you look at your pen, this kind of through your eyes, you can see the pen is directly. Okay, just everybody can see the pen? Yes. Now you can close. Still you can see the pen, right, in my hand. Okay, you can see the pen in my hand, right? Open. No, my pen is gone, right? But because after you close your eyes, the conceptual thoughts catch the image. This kind of image we call object generality. This kind of image, right? Image or image. There's another English term, right? Image and mirror, and in the mirror, reflection, kind of reflection, and kind of image. Sorry, this is not image. Sometimes it look like it's useless, but most time when we have a problem, the problem come from the image, the reflection.
Example?
Very easy. For example, think about very delicious food. There is somebody like a pasta, somebody like a Chinese food or Italian food, like we Tibetan like momo. Look at when I say pasta, if somebody really like it, you feel I want to eat. There's no way you have a strong desire. You are not really desiring the really object, the pasta, because you are desiring the image come in your mind. That's why we have a big problem within the between couple, between someone. When for example think about one day you went very beautiful place with your friends. You spent few hours. It's so nice. And after one year, you still remember the memory. It's memory, the image in your mind. You really want to go there because you carry the image in your mind. That's what we call an object generality.
15 minutes more.
Okay, the object generality. Okay, object generality. So, but the modern science that they don't know, they don't know yet. There's some mind can perceive the object directly, some mind cannot perceive the object directly. It's perceived indirectly through image, through reflection. So this is very, I think unique. We talk conceptual thoughts and unconceptual thoughts. Conceptual and unconceptual thoughts. So, for example, when we practice great compassion, we focus all sentient beings and wish to, achieve happiness. And that kind of mind is conceptual thoughts, not unconceptual thoughts. Because we cannot perceive all sentient beings, but we still try to focus. Right? This is why this kind of image or the reflection we call, objective generality. Object generality. The last one.
Term generality.
Yeah. Term generality. Okay. Then the second one, the first one, the third one is very similar. Very similar, not exactly same. For example, when I say Zankar, you can hear a sound, right? Zankar. At that moment, even you don't know what I'm saying, but you have some kind of image in your mind. I say Zankar. Then you have a particular image in your mind. This image is just come, through receiving the sound. Even you don't know the meaning. Then I said the Zankar. Zankar means white copper. White copper, right? White copper. Oh, then you have to say, yes, first you heard the Zankar, you have the image just come through the sound. Second, I say Zankar means white copper, then you can have the object generality. Okay, the third one is the most related to the sound, not the meaning, real meaning.
Example for object generality and term generality?
Happiness, I think, let's say, ultimate happiness. But when we say happiness, everybody have not only the term generality, everybody has the object generality. When I say, ultimate happiness, but we never have an experience of ultimate happiness. Then somebody can explain you, this is the meaning of ultimate happiness. Then you can have the term generality. The second you think more and more finally you can totally understand what does mean ultimate happiness. Then you have an object generality. But in order to have an object generality, you must comprehend the object. You must truly understand the object. Without understanding the object truly, you cannot have a kind of object generality. That's why all the conceptual thoughts, doesn't matter false or truth, every conceptual thoughts have the object generality. The five senses, they don't have, the object generality, because the five senses comprehend the object directly. The conceptual thoughts. So what does mean concept? Of course, everybody has a question. What does mean conceptual thought? So this we can learn when we study about mind and mental factors. It's I think very difficult to understand, because when you look at the particular object for 3 minutes, first when you perceive the object, there's only you have you can see the object directly. The second moment, the eyes consciousness see the object directly. The conceptual thoughts, the conceptual mind can see the object through the image. It's a true thing happen at the same time. Because when you look at the object, your eyes can see the object directly, but your conceptual thoughts see the object indirectly through the image, through the reflection. But the process like that is happening so quickly, so fast. That's why, according to non-Buddhist school, that some school that don't differentiate between conceptual thoughts and the five senses. They cannot differentiate because the process is so quick, so quick. I gave you example. When you make a hole for the 100 pattern of the lotus flower, 100 pattern put together. If you shot with like a blade, it look like you can make the hole is 1 second, but there's a layering or
the
process. There's an order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But from your point of view, you can see the blade make a 100 hole within 1 second. In 1 second we can divide in more millisecond, another second. But the whole not met just one time, it takes time. So the conceptual thoughts and the five senses, when they comprehend the object, is so quick. So for us, so difficult to understand. There's two different minds happening at the same time. Okay, so today we just live here. So how long we have a class for the collective topic? How many classes we have?
This is the 7th class. We have 3 more classes.
Okay. So 10 minutes. Any before is there anything I must clarify?
Can I just ask? We've talked about sight, so we see something. What about if we hear a noise, like we heard on motorbike? We can't see it, but we can. So then the hearing sense, is that the same?
It's same. It's same because we sit here, we hear some sound, out of the hall. When we hear the air consciousness, the sound perceived directly. Just 1 second. Second, there's another thought. The thought, the conception is multiplied. This is just image.
Or maybe not, or an airplane, yes. But the sound, you associate the sound with that motorbike or a car or whatever, yes.
Generally, look at when I was in the Dudra class, the collective topic class, we have a lot of debate about the sound, the air consciousness. What does mean sound? The definition of sound. They say the definition of sound must be comprehended by the air consciousness. Then we say, okay, for example, there's a land, nobody lives there. There's a land, nobody lives there. That moment, if the branches of the tree fall over on the ground, if they are sound or not. If it's a sound, it is sound, then it must be comprehended by the air consciousness. Whose air consciousness?
It's a question. If there is no humans, what is a chair? What is a chair? Is the chair a chair?
But there's no human. But there's no any sentence with something there. But there's no name. Something there.
It stands for sound, right?
The sound is different because the definition of sound. But look at, for example, it's very interesting. You think this way. 40 years ago, there was no mobile, right? Mobile phone. And 70 years ago, there's no computer. But how the computers come into being, come into exist?
Sorry, so Geshe, if I were to define what is a sound, I would say that it's an air vibration that should be able to identify.
No. How you can prove us when the tree falls, there's a sound? How you can prove? Sometimes tree can be fall without sound.
So if I were to do it, I would say you need to have a air vibration that is detectable, that it can can I finish that? That can be translated into recorded and comprehended by the ear consciousness. So for example, in a land that has no people, branches fall, if you were to be able to capture the vibrations of that and transform, and later to listen to the same ear consciousness, listen to the same vibration, and you can tell that there is a sound.
Who's going to record the sound?
That is beside the question. That is beside about who is going to record.
That's why
if the vibrations that which regardless
so,
of what happens.
So even though how you can prove us there's a vibration. For example, scientists give an example. There's a cat, cat, right, in the box, and somebody released the poison, and they ask the cat is still alive or dead. The scientists say we don't know until we open the box, because it's so difficult to say it's death because they cannot prove. He said alive because cannot prove. So the scientists say we don't know. But the Buddhist philosophy look like the black and white. You have to say yes or no. If you say maybe, yes, sometimes we can say maybe. Even the scientists say yeah maybe. For example, if somebody cut my neck totally, if I'm going to die, the scientists say maybe, right? Maybe. Scientists say maybe. After 2-3 hours, if I died, they say yes. So Buddhism say, if somebody totally cut my neck, Buddhism say yes, you're going to die. Because before there was not any example, somebody didn't die after cutting whole neck. In the future, nobody going to live if you totally cut your neck. But the Buddhist philosophy answer most time is yes and no. It's totally like black and white. But science is a different way, because we have a big I able to attend few scientists class. So it is same if there's a tree, nobody live around. If the tree, the branches fall down, if there's a sound or not. If there's a sound, how you can prove? If there's a vibration, how we can prove? But when we are young, we say very easy to say yeah, there's a Buddha. Buddha is all over. He can comprehend the sound, right? But it's still doubtful answer. But as a Buddhist, it's okay. I can say yes, Buddha is all over. Buddha is here. I cannot see because due to my karma.
Sure, just like you said, the Buddhist view is that when you cut the neck, you will die.
Yeah.
So if the tree drop, they have a sound. That's it. Same object. You don't need a human being to identify that.
So how you can prove?
Nothing to prove.
There's a sound.
If I cut the neck, you will
Sometimes the air is quite strong. When the tree fall over, the tree branch lift up, they fall down very slowly. Without sound.
You're saying when I cut the neck slowly, you won't die.
It doesn't matter slowly or die.
You will die.
Yeah.
When the tree drop, you bring a sound.
No. If the air is enough strong, they can lift up the branches, and the air is slow down, carry very slowly.
You're telling me I took a fake knife and cut your neck.
That's good, yeah. Yeah. For example, now it's Sonam and Uchung is saying something. Everybody says something.
No, Geshe, you say something makes sense first.
Without nonsense, there's nothing sense makes sense.
You will die. Then same goes. If the tree falls, there can be a sound. With person or no person, it can be a sound.
Do you need to have proof though? Do you need proof that it's happened before?
The sound?
Yes. I mean, you expect, because you've heard the tree fall before and it made a noise. So you assume.
Yeah, assume.
So it's an assumption.
Have you seen somebody neck getting cut before?
No. There's a no show. If something fall over, it's not necessary to have a sound, right? Why there is necessary to have a sound if the branches of tree fall over? Look at, if I leave this very gently, very slowly, no sound.
just that it's not, you cannot hear it, you cannot say there's no sound. It's movement, like Solam says. There could be some very, very audible sound that you can't catch your fingers.
Again, it also depends on somebody. If I have compare persons with a very good fine hearing sight, so he will be able to detect, like an elephant, you can hear the butterfly flap. We can't hear butterfly flap. So it depends on the
there's a more than thinner sound than the vibration of the flower, the butterfly.
Yeah.
There's a more thinner.
Yeah.
Or more fine sound.
Correct.
Than the vibration of flower. This look like something not any sentient being can detect the sound. It's very possible.
Right. Correct.
Yeah, but it's kind of you think this way because the problem is here. We usually have a definition. The sound definition, smell definition, taste definition. But the sound is always have to be, comprehended by the air consciousness, or maybe sentient beings or the Buddha. I said the sentient beings. Also, according to Buddhist philosophy, Buddhism, we claim, right? We say there's not any land and place which is there's no any sentient beings.
Oh, I never heard about that.
Yeah, Buddha said to they said size of the wheel, the ox wheel, size of the size of the ox, cow, ox, size of the and then the size of the ox wheel. There are more sentient beings than the rest of the others, like the 3 realm sentient beings. There's more sentient beings under the size of the ox wheel than the sentient beings who live in the like a realm, form and desire, form represent. There's more than.
Right.
And look at also said Buddha said sentient beings no. The number of sentient beings, not going less, not going more. The number of sentient beings, no going more, no going less. And also, Nagarjuna said this way. Somebody say, okay, what about if somebody become enlightenment? There must be one sentient being less. They say yes, one sentient being less, but number of sentient beings never became a less. Because we don't have a number of sentient beings. If there's no exact number, how we can say it became more and less?
So sorry, expand from there. Is Buddha a sentient being?
Yes.
In the categorization of Dora, I mean, only Dora.
The terms, the meaning of sentient being. What does mean sentient being? If the meaning of sentient beings is like who has a mind, then we can say Buddha is sentient being. But we Tibetans have very particular, the words. He says Semjen. Semjen is definitely not Buddha. Buddha is not Semjen. But sentient being is still the meaning. The meaning. What does mean sentient being? If you say, the thing who has a life, then we can say a Buddha is sentient being. But we can say all sentient beings, that means it look like Buddha is not sentient being. Buddha could be person, male and female, but Buddha is not sentient being.
Sorry, anybody can rephrase that? A Buddha can be male or female, but Buddha is not a sentient being. Perhaps we leave that as a homework for today, and because we are reached 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Sure. Is it true that all sentient beings got potential to become a Buddha?
It's very clear. But when you watch the documentary of like Animal Planet, very interesting. There are hundred billions of sentient beings. Someone is look like a rock, like sentient. So, but every sentient being has a potential. Why? Look at. Doesn't matter how how doesn't matter how small is the sentient being. Doesn't matter. It's smaller than the what we call quarks, right? Within one atom, there's a quark. Upset quark is the smallest kind of substance. Doesn't quark.
Okay.
Upset quarks and downset quarks is smallest kind of. Even though it's smallest than the atom. It doesn't matter how big. Doesn't matter how it's small. But it has, there has a consciousness. They have a positive consciousness, negative consciousness. The positive consciousness, negative consciousness is a counter-force consciousness. That means, they force each other. That means there's an ability to reduce the negative things, and there's an ability to arise, develop. That means we call all sentient being has a Buddha potential. But when we say Buddha potential, there's a two different view. View from Madhyamaka, view from Chitta Mantra school. According to Chitta Mantra school, the Buddha potential is impermanence. According to Madhyamaka school, the Buddha potential is the emptiness of the mind. Emptiness of the mind. So, all sentient being has a mind. The mind is the empty. The nature of the mind is empty. That means they have a Buddha potential. Okay, and thank you, and good night. This is good science. We have talked about Buddha potential. So tomorrow we have a puja, right? So tomorrow, before the puja, I can explain a little bit about the deities.
Yes.
Because Sonam sent me a...
Geshe, can you use the mic?
Oh. Because I received a short message from Sonam. Sonam really wants to know, not only Sonam, everybody I think wants to know what does mean the protector puja. So tomorrow, before the puja, I will briefly explain about the protector, what does mean protect, how it can be protect you. So it's very important to know. And unfortunately, this moment we don't have the text in the English phonetics like phonetics in English, but I will try to have the text in kind of in English. I mean you can read. But I think everybody has the text of the Tara Puja, text of the Guru Yoga Puja, and next time we have a Guru Yoga Puja, right? This one. Then I will briefly explain each part. Then you have some idea when you read the text. Then you can, for you very easy to can have a visualization. So tomorrow we have a puja. So we protect the protector puja. So I will explain a little bit that, and that's it.